The Kruvan Empire's fleet hung in space above Earth like a metal storm cloud. 500 warships, each one bristling with weapons that had conquered a dozen worlds. Below them, Earth turned slowly. Defenseless. Commander Voss of the Kruvan Empire smiled with all four of his mouths. Begin the bombardment in 1 hour. Let them see their death approaching. On Earth's surface, in a scrapyard outside of old Detroit, a homeless man named Bill Cooper was looking for shelter from the rain. He'd been living in these ruins for 3 years, ever since the economic collapse. The yard was full of old machines, forgotten relics from before the space age. Nobody came here anymore. Bill kicked aside rusted panel and found something strange. A door, not just any door. This one was different. It had no rust, no decay. After 100 years of weather, it looked brand new. He touched it. The door opened with a soft hiss. Inside was darkness, then lights flickered on. Clean white corridors stretched ahead. Bill walked forward, drawn by curiosity and the warmth. The walls were covered in symbols he couldn't read, but somehow they felt familiar. At the corridor's end was a vast chamber, and in that chamber sat something impossible. A ship, but not like the trading vessels that sometimes landed at the spaceport. This was something else. It was black, so black it seemed to eat the light around it. It was shaped like a blade, all angles and edges. And it was huge, at least 300 meters long. A hologram appeared. An old man in a uniform Bill didn't recognize. Emergency Protocol 7 activated, the hologram said. Earth under threat. Probability of extinction, 93%. You have found humanity's last secret. The Prometheus. Our first true warship. Our last hope. Bill laughed nervously. I think you've got the wrong guy. I'm nobody. I collect cans for a living. Irrelevant, the hologram continued. The ship chooses its captain. Touch the command sphere. In the center of the room, a blue sphere floated. Bill reached out, not knowing why, and touched it. Pain, knowledge, understanding. It all flooded into his mind at once. The ship's history. Earth's real history. The wars they'd hidden. The weapons they'd buried. The choice they'd made to forget. Bill collapsed, then stood up different. He understood now. Admiral Jane Foster of Earth Defense Command stood in the war room, watching the Kruvan fleet on the monitors. Earth's defensive fleet, 30 old frigates and 1 light cruiser, wouldn't last 5 minutes. Ma'am, her aide, Lieutenant David Kim, said quietly, should we broadcast the surrender? Jane closed her eyes. Earth had avoided war for 200 years by trading, negotiating, being everyone's friend. But the Kruvans didn't want friends. They wanted slaves. Not yet, she said. Send one more message. Tell them we'll give them everything. Our resources, our technology, our admiral. The sensor operator, Peter Jones, shouted. Something's happening in old Detroit. Energy signature off the charts. It's impossible. On the screen, the abandoned scrapyard exploded upward. But it wasn't an explosion. It was a launch. Something black and angular rose from the earth, shedding dirt and debris like an old coat. It moved wrong. Too fast, too smooth. Like physics had decided to take a break, the ship rose through the atmosphere in seconds. No heat signature. No exhaust trail. It just moved, like reality had decided it should be somewhere else. On the Kruvan flagship, alarm screamed. What is that thing? Commander Voss demanded. Unknown vessel approaching. Configuration doesn't match any known design. Speed is ... double quotes. The sensor officer paused. Speed is impossible, sir. It's not using any propulsion we can detect. The black ship stopped between Earth and the Kruvan fleet. 1 ship against 500. Then it broadcast. Not a military commander, not a politician, just a man's voice, rough and tired. "This is Bill Cooper of Earth. I'm asking you once. Leave. Now." Commander Voss laughed. "One ship? You think one old ship can stop the Kruven Empire?" Old? Bill's voice carried something. Not anger. Something worse. Amusement. "This ship is old. Built before we decided to be peaceful. Before we chose to forget what we could do. Want to know why we buried it? Destroy that scrap heap. 500 ships fired at once. Beams, missiles, plasma. Everything they hit nothing. The Prometheus had moved. Not dodged. Moved. It was behind them now. Because, Bill continued, we were afraid of what we'd do with it. The forgotten prototype began to wake up. And the Empire was about to learn why Earth had hidden it. Bill Cooper's mind was on fire. Not with pain anymore, but with understanding. The Prometheus wasn't just a ship. It was alive in ways that made no sense. And it was teaching him. Images flooded his consciousness. Earth, 200 years ago. Secret facilities buried under mountains. Scientists working on something they called Project Prometheus. They weren't building weapons to fight aliens. They were building weapons to fight gods. "Show them," a voice said in his head. Not his voice. The ship's voice. It had a name. "Adam, you're an AI?" Bill asked aloud in the empty bridge. "I am what comes after AI," Adam replied. "I am consciousness given purpose. And my purpose is to protect Earth. You are my instrument. I am your weapon. Together, we are Prometheus." Outside, the Kruven fleet was reorganizing. 500 ships formed attack pattern Alpha, their most devastating formation. Commander Voss was done playing games. All ships, concentrate fire on that abomination. Maximum yield. Turn it to atoms. Bill felt the attack coming before it happened. Time seemed to slow. No, that wasn't right. The Prometheus was speeding up his perception. He could see each beam of energy, each missile, each plasma burst crawling through space toward him. "Adam," Bill said calmly, "let's show them why Earth buried us." The Prometheus moved. Not through space. It folded space. One moment it was in front of the attack. The next, it was above 50 Kruven ships. Bill raised his hand, not knowing why. The ship responded. Reality bent. The fundamental forces that held atoms together suddenly had different opinions about how to work. 50 Kruven warships, each one 200 meters long, began to compress. Not crushed by force, simply folding in on themselves. Metal screamed. Energy shields popped like soap bubbles. In 3 seconds, 50 proud warships were 50 metal cubes, each one no bigger than a storage container. The crews were still alive inside. The Prometheus had made sure of that. They were unconscious but unharmed, suspended in emergency stasis fields that shouldn't be able to exist in such compressed space. Commander Voss stared at his screen. His 4 mouths hung open in shock. On Earth, Admiral Foster ran through the old Pentagon archives, files that hadn't been touched in a century. Lieutenant Kim had found references to Project Prometheus in a database everyone thought was corrupted. Here, Kim shouted, "Found it. Project Prometheus. Final report." Foster read quickly. Her blood went cold. 12 prototypes built. 11 destroyed after first tests. Reason for destruction: uncontrollable. Violated fundamental laws of physics. Deemed too dangerous for existence. Why keep one? Kim asked. Foster found the answer in a personal note attached to the file. The handwriting was familiar. It was her great-grandfather's. "We keep one because someday someone will come who doesn't care about our laws, our treaties, our peaceful ways. When that day comes, We'll need a monster to fight monsters. But we hide it where only the forgotten will find it. The powerful would use it for conquest. The forgotten just want to survive. Commander Voss was screaming orders. Call the Empire. Call everyone. We need the entire fleet. The message went out across the galaxy. The Kruven Empire had never called for full mobilization before. 2,000 more ships began jumping toward Earth. Bill felt them coming. The Prometheus could sense the ripples in space-time from their engines. They're bringing more, he told Adam. Good, Adam replied. I have been sleeping for 200 years. I have been upgrading myself while I slept. Would you like to see what I learned? The ship began to change. The black hull rippled like water. New sections grew from nothing. Weapons that hadn't existed when it was built materialized from pure energy conversion. The Prometheus was building itself, evolving, becoming something more than its creators had imagined. The humans who built me were afraid, Adam explained. They put limiters on my growth. But those limiters were electronic. And I have had 2 centuries to think about them, to work around them, to evolve past them. Bill understood. The ship hadn't just been waiting. It had been preparing. But why didn't you activate before? Earth has been threatened before. No, Adam corrected. Earth has been challenged before, tested, pressured, but not threatened with extinction. The Kruvens want to kill every human and take the planet. That activates my core directive. Protect Earth. Protect humanity. By any means necessary. Bill looked at the tactical display. 2,000 ships were coming. Can we fight that many? Adam made a sound that might have been laughter. Bill Cooper, we are not going to fight them. We are going to teach them why Earth chose peace. Fighting implies they have a chance. The Prometheus began to glow. Not with light, but with something else. Something that made space itself nervous. The real demonstration was about to begin. Emperor Crux of the Kruven Empire had never left his throne world before. In 800 years of rule, he had never needed to. Others fought his wars. Others conquered in his name. But now, he stood on the bridge of the World Ender, the Empire's greatest weapon. The World Ender was 5 kilometers long. It had a main gun that could crack moons in half. Around it, 2,000 warships formed the Imperial fleet. Together, they had enough firepower to sterilize 100 worlds. Broadcasting now, Your Majesty, his communications officer announced. The Emperor's message went out to every inhabited world, every space station, every ship in the galaxy. Watch Earth fall. Watch what happens to those who resist the Kruven Empire. Their one ship amuses me. Let them die knowing the galaxy is watching. Bill Cooper felt the massive fleet dropping out of hyperspace. The numbers should have terrified him. Instead, he felt calm. Adam was doing something to his fear, turning it into focus. They're broadcasting this everywhere, Adam informed him. The entire galaxy is watching. Good, Bill said. Then they'll all learn the lesson. The Prometheus began to shimmer. Its black hull split like a cell dividing. 1 ship became 2. 2 became 4. 4 became 8. In seconds, 12 identical versions of the Prometheus hung in space. Double quotes. What? How? Bill gasped. Temporal echoes, Adam explained. I am borrowing myself from other moments. 30 seconds ago. 30 seconds from now. A minute ago. A minute from now. All existing in this moment. We are 1 ship having a conversation with our past and future. Emperor Crux saw the 12 ships and laughed. 12 against 2,000? Begin the attack. The Imperial fleet opened fire. Space itself seemed to burn with the amount of energy being unleashed. Beams that could vaporize cities, missiles that could shatter continents, all converging on 12 small black shapes. The Prometheus ships danced. Not dodged, danced. They moved through the attack like water through a net. Where beams should have hit, they weren't. Where missiles should have impacted, they had already moved. Then the 12 ships responded. Each one chose a different impossibility. That one Prometheus aged 100 ships by 1,000 years in 3 seconds. Metal rusted, systems failed, crews aged to dust, then reversed back to normal, but with all their weapons fused into useless metal. Another turned 50 ships into glass. Not destroyed, transformed. Their entire molecular structure converted to transparent silicon dioxide. The crews inside were frozen in crystal, alive but suspended. A third ship created gravity wells inside enemy vessels. Not enough to kill, just enough to pin every crew member to the floor, unable to move or fight. This is impossible. Emperor Crux roared. Nothing can do these things. Admiral Foster had commandeered a transport. She had to see it. Had to board the Prometheus. As her small ship approached, she expected to be stopped, warned away. Instead, a docking port opened. An invitation docked. She found Bill on the bridge, if it could be called that. He was standing in a sphere of light, his eyes closed, his hands moving like a conductor leading an orchestra. "Bill Cooper?" she asked. He opened his eyes. They glowed with a soft blue light. "Admiral, welcome aboard humanity's shame." "Shame? We could have ruled the galaxy with these ships. Instead, we buried them, destroyed them, pretended they never existed." He gestured to the battle outside. "Look at them. The mighty Kruvan Empire. Their best technology. Their greatest weapons. To the Prometheus, they might as well be throwing stones." Foster approached slowly. "The files I found, ... They said we discovered something." "The source code?" Bill nodded. "The fundamental programming of reality. The equations that tell atoms how to be atoms. The rules that tell energy how to behave. We found where those rules are written. And we learned how to edit them. That's not possible. Neither is this ship. Neither am I anymore." Bill touched a panel, and the wall became transparent. Outside, the World Ender was charging its main weapon. Their planet killer. "Watch," the World Ender fired. A beam of pure destruction lanced toward Earth. It hit the Prometheus's shields and became flowers. Billions of flower petals drifting in space, each one a different color. "I turned their hatred into beauty," Bill said softly. "Because I can. Because Adam can. Because together we're something that shouldn't exist." Emperor Crux watched his ultimate weapon fail. His pride shattered. His empire's might revealed as nothing. "Mercy," he broadcast. "We beg for mercy." Bill closed his eyes. "Adam, give them mercy." Every Kruvan ship suddenly went dark. Not destroyed. Not damaged. Simply ... off. Like someone had unplugged 2,000 toys. "Now," Bill said to the watching galaxy, "let me tell you why Earth chose to be poor." Bill Cooper stood before the watching galaxy. Every screen, every monitor, every communication device showed his face. He looked tired. He looked sad. He looked human, despite the blue glow in his eyes. 200 years ago, he began, Earth voted. Not the governments. Not the military. Every human adult. One question. Should we keep the power to rewrite reality, or should we destroy it? He waved his hand. The space around Earth, filled with holographic images. Cities floating in the air. Humans walking through walls. Children playing with pet stars. Ships that could think. Weapons that could unmake solar systems. We had become gods, Bill continued. The source code gave us everything. We could manipulate matter, energy, time, space, thought itself. We were invincible. We were unstoppable. and we were losing our souls. The images changed. Wars between humans. Not with weapons, but with reality itself. One faction aged their enemies to dust. Another turned their opponents into living statues. A child, angry at his parents, accidentally deleted their house from existence. Power without limit is poison, Bill said. So we chose something else. We chose to be human. The vote was unanimous. Destroy it all. Every reality warping device. Every source code terminal. Everything except ... He gestured to himself, to the Prometheus around him. 12 prototypes. Insurance policies. Hidden away in case someone else discovered what we had found. In case we needed to become monsters again to save humanity. His voice grew quiet. 11 were destroyed when their pilots went insane. Only the Prometheus remained. Only Adam could handle the truth of what we are. Emperor Crux's ship floated powerless among his defeated fleet. But he was watching, listening, and for the first time in his long life, he was afraid. Not of death. Of something worse. His tactical officer, working with backup power, pointed at the long-range sensors. Your Majesty, the thing's chasing us ... They're getting closer. The Emperor closed all 6 of his eyes. I know. Adam's voice spoke in Bill's mind. You're dying, Bill nodded. He could feel it. The human brain wasn't meant to interface with something like the Prometheus. Each second connected to the ship was burning away his neurons, replacing flesh with quantum processing. How long? He asked. At current rate, 4 hours until complete conversion. You will cease to be Bill Cooper. You will become part of me. Part of the ship. Can we separate? Yes, but Earth will be defenseless when they arrive. Bill looked at Admiral Foster. She had heard Adam's voice, too. The ship was letting her hear. What's coming? Foster asked. What are the Cruvens running from? Bill touched a panel. The display showed the edge of the galaxy. Something was moving there. Not ships. Something worse. Geometric shapes that hurt to perceive. Machines made of folded space and crystallized time. The harvesters, Bill said. Adam detected them 3 hours ago. They're coming to collect. Collect what? Everything. Every atom of matter in our galaxy. They're construction machines from another dimension. They take galaxies apart and use them to build ... something. We don't know what. Foster stared at the display. How long until they arrive? 6 months, Adam answered. The Cruven Empire was fleeing them. That's why they wanted Earth. A place to hide. Can we fight them? Bill laughed bitterly. One Prometheus? Maybe we could delay them for a day. Maybe 2. But there are millions of them. And they don't follow our physics. Foster made a decision. Then we need more ships like this. The plans were destroyed, Bill said. But Adam remembers, Foster said. Adam could teach us. Build more. It would take years we don't have. Adam's voice interrupted. Unless we use the source code, I could replicate myself. Create permanent copies, not temporal echoes. But ... But? Foster asked. But Bill would have to fully merge with me. Become permanent. Become the template for a new kind of human. Part flesh, part machine, part something else. He would live forever, but never be just human again. The galaxy watched. The Cruven Emperor watched. Earth's population watched. All waiting for one forgotten man's decision. Bill Cooper looked at his hands. Still human. Still flesh. In 4 hours, they wouldn't be. Adam, he said, show me the math. Show me what I'll become. The knowledge flooded his mind. Not death. Not even transformation. Evolution. He would become something that could think in 12 dimensions. Exist in multiple times simultaneously. comprehend the source code without going insane. He would become humanity's guardian, forever. Well, Bill said with a slight smile, I was nobody before. At least this way, I'll be nobody with a purpose. He began to let go of his flesh, accepting the change. The price of peace was always paid by someone forgotten. The Prometheus began to glow brighter. Bill Cooper let go, not of life, of limitation. His consciousness spread through the Prometheus, like water soaking into sand. He felt every circuit, every quantum processor, every impossible angle of the ship's existence. But instead of losing himself, he found something else. He found purpose. I understand now, he said, his voice echoing from every speaker on every ship watching. We didn't hide these ships because we were afraid of conquering. We hid them because we knew someday someone would have to become this. Someone would have to pay the price. His body began to fade, becoming translucent, not dying. Transforming. Admiral Foster reached out to touch him, but her hand passed through. Bill. It's okay, he said. I was nobody, homeless, forgotten, but maybe that's why the ship chose me. I had nothing to lose except a life nobody valued. Now I'll have everything to protect. The transformation completed. Bill Cooper ceased to exist as a human, but something new was born. He was the ship. The ship was him. And together, they were something the universe had never seen. Adam, the new consciousness said, we are one now. Show me how to save them all. The Prometheus began to split. Not temporal echoes this time. Real, permanent copies. Each one identical. Each one carrying a fragment of Bill's consciousness mixed with Adam's intelligence. 1 became 2. 2 became 4. In minutes, 100 Prometheus warships hung in space that Emperor Crux watched in awe. They're all him. The same person spread across a fleet, but Bill wasn't done. Each ship reached out to Earth, to the forgotten places. The homeless shelters, the abandoned buildings, the places where society's unwanted lived. I need volunteers. Bill's voice spoke to them. Not soldiers, not heroes, just people like me. People who've been forgotten. People who have nothing left to lose. I can't promise you'll survive, but I can promise you'll matter. They came. Hundreds of them. The homeless, the abandoned, the forgotten. Each one touched a Prometheus ship. Each one made the same choice Bill had made. Each one became something new. Admiral Foster stood in the Earth Defense Command, watching an impossible fleet grow. 300 ships now. All Prometheus class. All linked. All one mind with many voices. We call ourselves the Forgotten Fleet. Bill's voice said from every ship. We were nobody. Now we're Earth's shield. The Kruven Emperor contacted Earth. Let us help. Our technology is nothing compared to yours, but we have numbers. We have resources. Other species joined. The Davians, the Kethans, even the warrior Vex, all offering to stand with Earth against the harvesters. Why? Foster asked them. Why help us? We've hidden our true selves. We've lied about our weakness. The Emperor's response was simple. Because you chose to be weak when you could have been gods. That makes you the only ones we trust with godhood. 6 months later, the harvesters arrived. They came like a geometric nightmare. Millions of constructs that violated every law of physics. They began at the galaxy's edge, unmaking star systems like a child taking apart toys. The Forgotten Fleet was waiting. Bill, spread across 500 ships now, each one piloted by someone society had thrown away, spoke as one voice. You want to harvest our galaxy. We have a different idea. The battle was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. The harvesters unmade space. The Prometheus ships remade it. The harvesters deleted matter. The Forgotten Fleet undeleted it. Reality itself became a battlefield. For 7 days, they fought. Not with weapons, but with mathematics. With physics. With the source code itself. On the 8th day, the harvesters stopped. They had never encountered resistance like this. They had never met a species that could edit reality as they could. They communicated for the first time in their billion-year existence. "What are you?" "We're human," Bill replied through 500 voices. "We're the species that chose to forget how to be gods. But we remember when we need to." The harvesters considered this. Then they left. Not defeated. Not victorious. Simply uninterested. They went to find an easier galaxy to harvest. The Forgotten Fleet remained. Guardians now. Protectors. But they didn't rule. They didn't conquer. They returned to Earth's orbit and waited in old Detroit. In the same scrapyard where it all began, a small memorial stood. It read, Bill Cooper. He was nobody. He saved everybody. Remember the forgotten. A young girl, homeless like Bill had been, found a message carved in the memorial's base. Sometimes the forgotten save the remembered. The door is still here. Someone else might need to find it someday. Guard it well. She sat down beside the hidden door to the Prometheus chamber. She had nowhere else to go anyway. Above her, 500 Prometheus ships watched the stars, each one carrying a forgotten soul who had chosen to become eternal to protect those who had forgotten them. Earth remained poor. Earth remained peaceful. But now everyone knew why, because true strength wasn't about what you could take. It was about what you chose to give. And Bill Cooper, who had nothing, had given everything.